Hello, and welcome back to Broyhill on Aviation Leadership. This week, we resume the trait series where we talk about the leadership trait of empowerment. The definition of empowerment, from a strict sense, depends on the perspective from which you view it. Obviously, if you are the person providing that empowerment, the first definition applies. If you are the person receiving that empowerment, the second definition applies. But, as usual, there's more to it than this. Two scholars by the names of Page and Zuba, and I sincerely hope I'm pronouncing the second name correctly, conducted a comprehensive literature review looking for a definition of empowerment. After feeling that it was inadequately defined in the sources they consulted, they constructed one of their own that is process-oriented, and you can see at the top of the page here. Empowerment, they say, is a multidimensional social process that helps people gain control over their own lives. It is a process that fosters power, that is, the capacity to implement, in people for use in their own lives, their communities, and in their society, by acting on issues that they define as important. Now, if you read on in their discussion of empowerment, you'll see they believe empowerment's a journey in the way it's manifested. Stephen R. Covey, probably one of the most renowned writers on the subject of leadership and author of numerous classic works on the subject, in his book, The Speed of Trust, is more direct in both his definition of empowerment and what it means in organizations. By extending trust, he says, you empower people. You leverage your leadership. You create a high trust culture that brings out the best in people, creates high-level synergy, and maximizes the ability of any organization, whether it is a business, a school, or an NPO, to accomplish what it sets out to do. So Covey obviously believes strongly that trust and empowerment are related, and as we go further in our discussion, we'll see that's probably true. So what did the research reveal from a statistics perspective about the importance of empowerment, both to leaders and followers? I define empowerment as gives me the resources to do my job and trusts me to do it. The overall mean, you can see 6.16, pretty high, actually higher than the mean on communications from a rating perspective. The leaders mean 6.19, the followers 6.13. Levine's test for variance was non-significant, so the two do not differ, although the leaders rated it higher, 3, and the followers rated it lower, 4. So a little bit of a misalignment there in the 1 to 3 rankings, but the ratings were very close. So here we come to the part of the episode where I provide you an anecdote. And very similar to the anecdote in the second episode, this is not a highly flattering one, but it provides a good look at some things perhaps not to do where empowerment is concerned. The quote that flashed up there before this slide came on is one of my very favorites from General George S. Patton Jr., probably not the first person you would think of when you think about empowerment, but he was a very empowering commander. Never tell people how to do things, tell them what to do, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. I've lived by that throughout my leadership career. But there's one case that kind of bit me on the butt. A few lives ago, I was recruited to be the director of aviation for a startup flight department. Got to build the whole thing from scratch. It was an amazing experience, but it was pretty fast moving. Shortly after we began operations, I set the goal for us to be ISBAO registered within the next year. And I set my senior captains to work on building us a flight operations manual. I gave them a template, a little bit of guidance. They were both familiar with ISBAO, and said, here's the ball, run with it. And then promptly forgot about it. We were in the process of acquiring another aircraft, trying to hire additional personnel. We were rapidly growing. The trips were coming down the chute one after the other. There was a lot going on. Didn't follow up really. I would talk to them from time to time and say, how are things going? And I would get expressions of confidence. But was I involved? No, not really. And then the time came for the ISBAO audit, and we nearly flunked it. The manual wasn't anywhere near what it needed to be. So we got together, buckled down, and fixed it, and then we were successfully ISBAO registered shortly thereafter. But we debriefed the process after that was all over, and both realized from a follower perspective and a leader perspective, we could have done a better job. So what's the takeaway? Remember when I talked earlier, I said there's an interaction between empowerment and trust. But there's also trust and verify, because that's what we have to do as leaders. There's a expression that you always hear in the superhero movies, remember? They always say, with great power comes great responsibility. I would argue with great empowerment also comes great responsibility on the part of the leader. Just because we empower our people doesn't mean we don't stay engaged, doesn't mean we don't stay involved, doesn't mean that we let people just go. We have to trust them to do their job, but we have to verify it from time to time, both for them, their benefit, as well as our own. So empowerment requires a structured approach, I believe, not just one in which you give them the ball and let them run. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the Leadership Traits series. I'll be back next week with another. Again, if you subscribe with the button down there at the bottom, you will never miss one of these episodes. Also, if you'd like to get more detail on empowerment as well as the other leadership traits in this series, you can buy the book you see right there, either through an online retailer or through my website. Again, all the proceeds go to the Leadership Conference Scholarship Fund. Nobody's making any money on this. It's a gift to the industry. So, until we meet again, have a great week. Stay healthy. Tailwinds.